it goes without saying, or sorry, surely should go without saying, shall I say, that the police's job is to uphold the law. So you'd like to think, wouldn't you, that not only would they do that, but also they'd be aware of any law changes that take place, and therefore abide by them. Although unfortunately for us and them, it seems as if that might not be the case. And I say that because according to this article, it says that trans-identifying male police officers are allowed to use women's showers, toilets and changing rooms. And you don't get me wrong, I know of course that trans people believe they were born in the wrong body and therefore feel like they are the opposite sex. However, they aren't. But whilst they've still got the meat and two veg, if that's the way they're going, then they could make women feel very threatened if they're using the same showers as them, presumably. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Labour have already said that men have to use men's showers and women have to use women's showers, including people who say they're women but still got a penis, and vice versa, presumably. But that's not it, because it says that trans police officers are being allowed to carry multiple warrant cards dependent on the gender they choose. A series of Freedom of Information requests have revealed. So what if, presumably and hypothetically, you have a bloke who suddenly decides that today is a Tuesday and they want to be a female called Gladys. But whilst they're Gladys, they are a lesbian and therefore fancy woman. So in which case would these male-born police officers be allowed to search women, as they are saying they're a woman and have got a woman's warrant card? I'm guessing they probably would be able to. So therefore the women who are actually being searched by these male-born police officers, who, let's face it, might have a bigger penis than what I do, although admittedly that is rare, they, in my opinion, could be putting females' public safety at risk. Because let's face it, unfortunately, not every person out there, including some police officers no doubt, is a nice person and can do not very nice things, if you know what I mean. And no doubt, of course, all the lefties' heads are probably exploding at what I just said, but I'm sorry, that is a genuine concern that I have, and I'm betting I'm not alone. And not surprisingly, women's rights campaigners and MPs have criticised the move, claiming the policies are a threat to females, which obviously, is a massive concern. 11 of the 47 police questions say they allow trans officers to carry multiple warrant cards, including if they are gender fluid. Meanwhile, 28 forces, though, they say they let trans staff use the facilities of the gender in which they identify. 5 forces failed, though, to respond. And what happened to all the transvestites out there? I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been, for quite some time, men who are men but fancy putting on a dress. And no, I am not talking about Scottish people who wear kilts. It seems as if all those guys just now identify as females, I'm guessing. Admittedly, I could be wrong, but that's the way it seems, doesn't it? Maya Forrester, the executive director of charity Sex Matters, told the Daily Mail, allowing any man, whether he calls himself and whatever he is wearing, to walk into women's showers, changing rooms and toilets, or to search, including strip search women, is a violation of women's dignity and an abuse of power, which is totally correct in my opinion, and I think should have never been allowed to happen. But it just seems, doesn't it, that ever since the woke explosion of 2020, when, let's face it, when we were all locked up in our houses, some people thought, I'm bored today, what can I complain about? And then went loopy on Twitter. Well, that's what I guess what happened anyway. That seems to be the birth of all this woke stuff. It just seems to have snowballed from there, doesn't it? Female police officers, suspect and victims should be given the respect and protected from abuse, but instead police forces are using them as props to validate trans-identifying officers, which should not happen either. I think what should happen, if one of these people wants to carry out a search on a female, or male of course, they should say to the person being searched that in their eyes they are a woman, but of course have a 10-foot long knob. Do they want to be searched by them? And give the potential suspect that choice. And if they say no, these guys should respect that and get a WPC, or Woman Police Officer, or no, just PC, or whatever they want to call them. But just what have they all said about it then? Well, Chris Phillip, the Shadow Home Secretary, added biological males should under no circumstances be using female facilities in police stations or anywhere else. The government must review this approach and put the safety of women first. Yet whether the government like it or not, they do have a duty to sort all this out, in my opinion. Thames Valley Police, Essex, Leicestershire, Avon and Somerset Dyfed-Rowers, Merseyside and Police Scotland, though, I'm guessing they have a different view because they apparently already allow biologically male trans officers to use women's facilities. And you would think, wouldn't you, that after presumably dealing with a lot of rapists and other sex criminals out there, that the police would have an idea just how some nasty people think and wouldn't allow such a thing to begin with. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that every trans person thinks that way, because obviously they don't. However, there will unfortunately be, or bound to be more like, unfortunately, some that might think they're allowed to carry out these sexual assaults when obviously no one should be allowed to do so. And I think Labour really does need to step up and get a grip on this before it's too late. And let's face it, a lot of crimes happen needlessly which could have otherwise been prevented had Labour or these police stations, just switched their brains on, eh?